We are just starting this session now, and before we start the session, let me tell you what we have done it prior to this session. We had a 3 session prior to this. The first workshop was on the basic Python. It was like Python for everyone. We already covered almost 3-hour session where we understood like what the Python is, why Python, benefits of Python, where we are using the Python, applications of Python, and some hands-on session. And that link is also shared to you, like that your YouTube stream is already available. So you can see this was the agenda for our first workshop, which was conducted on 10th August, where we have covered the basic of Python and the basic hands-on here, and also discuss about the career in Python. I will request you to go through this video so that you know what the Python is all about. Because in this session, I won't be covering basic topic. My focus of this session is understanding more about object-oriented programming in the Python, and also the difference between the topic like object variable versus class variable, then inheritance, polymorphism, private data methods, many-idiom program, and we are going to develop one application using the Python itself. So this is our today agenda. We are also having another workshop. In that we have covered something more, like we have already covered some basic about object-oriented programming, functions, data structure, and some hands-on also. So I will request you to go through both the workshop which we already done, and both are available on the YouTube, so that you understand today's workshop also. So before we start for today's agenda, let me give the quick idea, because those who join first time for this particular workshop, I just want to tell you like what exactly the Python in short. Because there's a lot of confusion between the participant and between the audience. There is a misunderstanding, or there is something like there are different definition of the Python. So let me tell you what exactly the Python is here. So Python is a general purpose, interpreted, interactive, object-oriented, high-level scripting language. Now the question here is, what is general purpose? And why we are saying this language is general purpose? General purpose means I can use this language for any task. So it is not specific to the domain. It is not like SQL, where SQL means I can use only for database. If it is HTML, I can use for web programming. But general purpose means I can use for whatever the purpose, like maybe for the testing purpose, could be a data analytics purpose, could be for development, for GUI programming, for web programming. For whatever the purpose you want to use it, you can use a Python. It's a language which is very easy and very much flexible language. Like that, other languages like Java and C++, they are also considered as a general purpose language only. But which are the languages which are not general purpose? I just said just now, it is HTML, Java's HTML, or you can say the SQL, R language, which is also specific to the database, data science. So some languages are general purpose and some are domain specific. Second thing I say, it is interpreted language. The beauty of this language is such a fast, you can just type it and you get the immediate response. Interpreted and interactive. You just start the interpreter, say hello, and you get the response. That is what interpreter means. The third point, which is very important, and that this language is object-oriented scripting language. And when you say object-oriented scripting language, it is much more high level than object-oriented programming language, also higher than the programming language as well as higher than the scripting language. So it is not just the programming language, it is not just the scripting language, it is object-oriented scripting language. What does it mean? It means in this language, everything what you are using is an object. And with the help of object, you are writing the program now. That way, we are reducing the lines of code. So let me give a little bit of what is the difference in scripting language and programming language. Scripting language means something like command. Like in the shell scripting, you say cp source file and destination file. That's a command, but internally this is a program. Whereas a programming language like C, C++, and Java, you are writing the program for it. So there is something more about computer, more about understanding the hardware part here. You need to know like how to allocate the memory, deallocate the memory, and we need to know internal part of the computer. That is what happened in the case of programming language. Whereas in the scripting language, we are writing more high level things. We are not interested to know the design part of the computer here. It is more about doing the business here and less about understanding the hardware part here or the internal components of the computer here. So that's a major difference you can say between the high level and the low level languages also. Also interpreter and compiler language. Interpreter means everything is done automatically now. For every line is internally getting compiled. You are not actually compiling it manually now. Now, next thing is high level is as you know, like high level is just like English level language. It's like more easy for the programmer to write it. Now, the previous workshop I already discussed about how to install the Python and all. So again, those who are joined newly, I will request them to download from this particular source as a quick start for the Python. One more option is there, is like Anaconda. Here also you can download and you can use the Anaconda Jupyter notebook, where you can see there are options available for various operating systems, for Windows, for Mac, for Linux, and this is for 64-bit machine now. And the latest version which is available in the Anaconda is also a 3.8 version. I will also request you to subscribe our channel so that you will get the next workshop, because we have a chain of workshop right now. It's not just like end of this workshop. Here, this is a workshop dedicated for the object programming, but we have some more workshop which are more advanced topic related. So I will request you to subscribe and like our channel also. Let me tell you why I'm taking this language as one of the most powerful language. Why I'm taking the session on the Python language. This language is so powerful and easy for everyone. Like anyone can do whatever they want. Like I want to develop my product as a GUI programming. Using the GUI programming, I can develop the product. Using the GUI programming, I can develop the product using the web programming also. So I have an option available, and it's very easy for anyone to work on it. Now, let me give a little bit history. I'm not going to discuss more history now because we already discussed the history part in the previous session. But the person, we should know the person who has invented this language. And that's why I would like to give a quick idea about the person behind the Python and how the name the Python came. Guido van Rossum is the person behind this Python who has invented the Python in the year 1999. He started working on the Python, and with his research, we are able to see that there's a Python language which is available for everyone. It's almost now 30+ year old or mature language, you can say. Why the name Python? As you can see, it's not the snake name. It's one of the show that is a BBC TV show, and it was very famous there. And from that BBC TV show, Monty Python, Flying Circus, that show, the name Python came. Now, there are two major series which are available in the Python. I can say one of the series is 2.x series and another is 3.x series now. Now, what is the difference here? The 2.x series is something which is now, I can say, is for the legacy application. I will not recommend for go for this 2.x version now, because now support has been, there is no more support for the 2.x version. What you can do is you can go for 3.x version. But you should know the difference then. In case you're already working on 2.x and you like to switch to the 3.x, you should know the difference. That's why I'm giving here the quick differences here, that what's the major difference between the 2.x and 3.x. You can observe the first thing is the print statement here, where you can see in the Python 2.x version, you have welcome without any bracket, which is not like a function. It is not, it's like you can say not mandatory here. But that's in case of Python 3.x, every statement, every print statement, you need to write a bracket now. So it's like a function. Second thing you can see like the calculation part, mathematical part here. Here there is a 7/2. What you see the result is not accurate result. It's like a round calculation done in the 2.x version. Whereas in the case of 3.x version, you can see there's a expected result is there. So that's also another difference you can see. One more thing you can see in the 2.x version, by default, you have ASCII code support. Whereas in the case of 3.x version, you have a Unicode support here. So these are the major differences between the 2.x version and the 3.x version. About the compatibility, let me tell you that 2.x version is not forward compatible. Similarly, 3.x version is not backward compatible. So we need to work on separately only. Now, sir, some benefits before we again start our today agenda. What are the benefits of Python now? We should know it very well. So some quickly, it's very easy to learn and use. Like it's not that difficult. Even I can tell you, like even having the having some basic knowledge about computer can start the Python, and you can start with the interpreter and type some mathematical like addition, subtraction, multiplication, or print statement, and that way you can start learning. So that way, it's for there's no age bar. Like okay, when can I start learning the Python? There is no age bar here. Having the computer knowledge, you can start, and it is for everyone. So the other languages, like if you say like C, C++, Java, we are very much like focused on the computer architecture and hardware part. Without having the knowledge about the computer hardware, it is a bit difficult to write a program in the C, C++ and Java. That is not the case in the Python. Even you do not have knowledge about the computer hardware or the microprocessor, still you can write the program. That's why it's a very easy to learn and use also. Having a simple syntax, having a less lines of code. Like you don't require to write like for example, in the case of Java, you write 5 lines or 6 lines for the hello world. Here you simply write 1 line and done. Just say print hello and it is done. And it has a code readability. You are not using semicolon, curly brackets, start and end. That way the code is readable here. It's one of the most productive language here. I say productive language is very important because here the objective is like you can do more with a less time. So if you have some project and you need to do something in a short duration, Python is for that. So here you can finish the project, like you can use a framework like Django also, which is written in the Python, and you can finish the web project within a short duration. And it depends on you, like what kind of or any kind of automation you want to do it, Python is the solution. Python is giving you not only the dynamism in the data types, also giving you the rich setup library for each and every domain. For example, you are from networking domain, you have a huge library for the networking domain itself. You are from testing domain, yes, we have a library for testing domain, like Selenium library is available, unit testing library is available. So whichever is your domain, whether you are web programmer, whether you are tester, or whatever domain it is, the solution is available here. And it has the largest community available now. That's something which you can see as one of the benefit of the Python now. One more thing you can see, it has a mature, it is one of the mature language and it has the biggest community for support now. We have a tutorial available, video tutorial, plenty of documentation for the Python. Even on our portal you can visit, as well as on the site like Python.org site, you will get all the things already available now. Having a rich set of library is obviously the one of the plus point or one of the biggest reason why we should be learning the Python. Whether you like to go for web programming, data science, machine learning, web scraping, you have the solution available. One more thing, flexibility of the language that allows you to do whatever your dream or wish is, whether you like to go for GUI programming or you like to go for web application or whatever you want, or you may have interest in the game development. Python is giving you the library for it. Having the very good framework like Django, Flask, and Pyramid is helping you to develop the web application quickly. So Django is one of the most powerful framework. Let me tell you, the company like Instagram, they have developed the complete Instagram application using the Django and related to Python. Django is a framework written in the Python itself. Very powerful framework, you should go for it. Then the game development, we have a library like PySoy, 3D game application development, Pygame. You also have a solution for the big data. So in case you like to go for big data analysis, Python is giving the solution, one of the biggest library, that is PySpark, which is already available for the big data analysis. Also for the machine learning, solution is available. If you want to go for artificial intelligence, solution is available. So for whatever is your problem, there is a solution now. So here Python is solving the problem for everyone, and that's the reason I recommend the Python to everyone. Desktop GUI, you want to go for you don't want to go for web programming, but you want to go for the GUI programming now. Yes, solution is available for that also. You want to do web scraping? Yes, you can do web scraping. You have library available like BS4 or Beautiful Soup, you can say, Scrappy, LXML, Request, Selenium, URLIB. And also if you are interested in embedded programming, embedded application, solution is available for that also. Like we have Raspberry Pi, one of the board is also available where you can start the embedded programming. Because Python is written in the C language, you have interfacing with the C language also. But what are some limitations in the Python? Yes, Python is not a compiler language. Python is an interpreted language. As a result, obviously, you can say it is not machine friendly. It is a human friendly language. So as a result, you have some speed issue. So mostly with programming related to hardware are not recommended in Python. But if you want to go for business application, the Python is the most recommended language. Now, but then now why the speed is not a matter? Because we have a high speed computer now. We don't require to worry the speed. Like previously, we were having a short of RAM. We were having the shortage of processor. The speed was less. But now we don't require to worry. That's the reason these limitations are already overcome now. Mobile computing, Python is still not that popular. Like Java is more popular in the mobile computing, although the solution is available in the Python. It has certain design restriction and it has a mandatory indentation also. These are certain limitations, although they are the best practices. Something like, whatever we saw, like Python has a dynamic typing, so you are not defining data type here. There is no static typing here in this case. It has a built-in data structure. So again, like you don't require to write the code from the scratch. These are all objects, and you can simply use the object and call the methods as per your requirement. We have discussed that all those things about data structure in the previous session itself. Open source language, you're not worried about license now, easy to learn. So these are all things we already discussed now. Now I'll be going for some applications which are there in the Python, just giving the list of the application which you can develop using the Python, and then we will develop one of the application from it using object-oriented programming in the Python. That's our today's main agenda. So before we are going for today's agenda, let me tell you what else are the application you can develop using the Python. I hope I'm audible to all of you.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, sir.
Okay, someone asked me the question here that whether Anaconda, what kind of edition? So it is an individual edition. So I hope like the Balaji must have got the answer now. So go for the individual edition. Yeah. Now, what are the application? This topic is very important for all of you to understand. Why I'm saying this very important? The reason is you should know with the help of Python what you can do it. Don't think like Python is a simple language. It is like a solution to many problems. I don't take language as just like a language. It's a solution. Like why I'm saying this solution, let me tell you now. 15 top application which you can develop using the Python. Giving you the quick idea. Web application you can develop. I told you like the Instagram based, like because Django is one of the framework by which you can develop the web application. I already discussed like GUI application. You can also develop the console based application, software development application, scientific and numeric application, business application, audio or video based application, enterprise application, image processing application, game development, machine learning and artificial intelligence based application, data science and data visualization based application, web scraping application, embedded application and 3D CAD application. So these kind of applications can be developed, and I have already discussed those applications in the previous workshop. So I will request you again to go to that workshop and see the detail for that. Now we are coming back to our agenda for today's session, and that is object-oriented programming using the Python. Here we are going to understand how we can create our own object, because Python is having already the built-in object. Like list is object, tuple is object, dictionary is object, but can we create our own set of object using the Python? That we are going to see in this particular topic. So what is our agenda? We'll understand some fundamental also about object-oriented programming. We'll also understand some differences between the object variable versus class variable. Although I have discussed basic about it in the previous workshop also. We'll also see some of the concepts like inheritance, polymorphism, use of super keywords, how private data is defined in the Python, and also we are going to write a mini Leon program and the bank application demo. This is what our today agenda. So first thing first now, that is what is object-oriented programming means here. So object-oriented programming is a way of computer programming using the idea of object to represent data and method. So let me tell you like what is object first and what is class now. Again, I have discussed this topic in the previous session, but let me tell you again quickly what is object and what is class and how do you differentiate here. And one more point here, like some of the guys who already done something like on the programming, like procedure oriented programming and object programming, for them I have already put certain point. What is the difference between the procedure oriented programming and the object oriented programming? So one difference you can see here, that the object programming is more secure, whereas procedure oriented programming is less secure. Nowadays very few company they are using the procedure oriented programming. Mostly we all are using object oriented programming only. I don't want to discuss much because I think that is again a concept part. You can again, as per requirement, you can go for it. Here again the point, what are the classes and object? Class, as discussed in the previous session, again the class is a collection of object is one of the definition in the but then I will say class is a blueprint rather than seeing the collection of object. Why I'm saying blueprint, that way you understand the class itself. So let me show like the difference the class and object here. Like here there is a car design that you can consider as a class, where you can define the what layout should be there, how many wheels should be there. So all the part, you can say data and method, all that can be written inside the class. Whereas the real thing, like your car, like maybe Wagon-R or Honda, whichever is there, that's an object. Now let me start with the hands-on part. This was all theory part, and I don't want to take this theoretically now. Let me close this part here, and we'll like to start from the Anaconda. So here I'm starting the Anaconda. I have opened the notebook. You can start the notebook by simply saying the file new here, and there's option to open the notebook here, Python 3. And once you do that, you'll able to see that there is a notebook. I'll be writing the writing the complete code here, and each and every concept I'll clear you with the help of this code itself. So first thing is like, what is object in the Python? As I said previously, in the Python everything is object, even the class is object. So I'm going to start with a very simple, because I'll be taking the application like a bank application here. So let me start with the bank application example only. Class bank. Now here I'm writing the class and the class name. The class name is bank here. Now here you can also simply say pass and test it whether you can create object of this bank class or not. Now what is class? I tell you, like class is a blueprint and it's like a design where you can define data and method. So here are going to see practically, but now in the case of Python, class is object also. That's not the case in other languages like Java and C++. Here class is also object. So we are going to test it first. So here I'll say bank 1, maybe I can say ICICI, or okay, LGFC, fine. And just say bank opening closing bracket. So can I create using this empty class object? So let us see this now, and let us print it. So what you can see here, we are able to print the object of this bank class. So yes, you can. Why? Let us see now the secret behind it. Look at the SDFC which we just now created as object. We are able to create object using the bank class. Why? Because there is something already defined now. What is that? Let me show that also. Let us look at the what is there behind SDFC. And it shows that there are already certain methods defined, and the bank is inheriting one class called object class by default. So here you can see there is a built-in dot object. So by default, although I did not write it in the Python 3, you can see by default it is inheriting certain features now. So when you're writing your own class, it is again like overwriting, you can say. It is like overriding the existing class itself. And that's why you can say here the class is also object now. So let me write something more now. Firstly, I'll write a document. So bank class. Now this bank class, this is like a triple quote string. I just wrote a triple quote string because you can write a multiple string. This could be a help document for this particular class now. And here, firstly, I will write a one method that is a constructor method now. Now, how do we write constructor method? Constructor method is written by double underscore init in the beginning and double underscore. I will discuss this topic again. So let me tell you once again like what the init is. Init is to initialize the class. That is a bank class in this case. Here, the first parameter is a self. Now, self is what? That also I'll discuss in detail. But here, as of now, you understand, is like a reference to the instance of a class now. Like in other language like C++ and Java, you have these. Here, there is a self here. But self is not keyword. Self is a reference for the class now. We'll be using this self for defining the object also. You're going to check it now. I will not write any parameter as of now, and we'll be testing now. Here we'll say initialization of bank class. Again, you can see the code is indented, and you have to look at like, you know, the colon, like when it's a class bank, I wrote a colon. After that, below the class only, there is a method def, double underscore in the beginning and double underscore at the end. So you have to be very careful while typing the script here. You cannot just ignore the indentation, or you can say space. Indentation is nothing but the space. It's like a one tab, you can say. Here we are not adding any bracket. Like in other language, you're adding the opening bracket and closing bracket. Instead of that, we have a indentation. This again, like let us go for the basic Python for that to understand what the indentation means in the Python. Now here I'm going to define a simple print statement and test it whether this constructor method is working perfectly or not. So here I'll say welcome. Okay, this is like a bank class initialization. So let us test now, how does it work? Now what happened in this case of init, in the case of bank, or in the case of, you can say whenever you write a class, let me do, there is a method called init method or constructor method. It is by default, it is there even when you are creating the object. But when you write, what happened exactly? It is overriding the existing init method itself. So what will happen now in this case, if I execute this SDFC equal to bank, this method will get called, and you can see also how this method is getting called now. See the result. You can see the bank class initialization, that print is, it is printed, means that method got called automatically. So constructor method, you do not require to call it manually. It gets called automatically as soon as you create an object. That you can see from this example. Now, we are going to write data for that. We are going to write a first local variable, and then we will see the object variable, then we'll see the class variable, and also I'll explain you the global variable. So here, first thing, like writing the local variable. Now, in the case of bank, what all thing we can have? We can have something related to like, obviously it's related to like you are in the saving account. So, or you have, it's like you have to think about design part now here. What all thing you can have? You can have the bank, we can have current account, we can have saving account, we can have bank information. So what information? You can have bank information like a branch name. You can have the IFSC code as a unique code. You can have the branch city, so the city location of the bank, name of the bank, so many more things. So firstly, we can have the name of the bank. So I'll say here, CNAME. It just like giving the name to the, okay, CNAME, there is CNAME, I'll see the bank name. So it's okay, you can just write any name here, just to tell like, this is a bank name. And what else you can have? Branch. Bank name, then branch. So these two local variable. Let us start with this first and print it. So here we are going to print bank name is %s, and s is for string. So if I want to print the string, I will say %s, like in the C++, we are using %s for the string, %f for the floating point, %d for the decimal number. Same way here, %s for the string now. So it is like a placeholder now. Then on the branch, so again %s. So name is, and here branch is %s. Percentage, again I have to write because I'll be passing now bname and branch. So let us test this much code only without doing anything. See the error also, because we need to check the error. What happen if I modify the init method, how interpreter interpret it. So obviously we are going to communicate with the interpreter by writing the code. That's why the language is interactive and interpreted language. Let us test it now. Yes, giving you immediate response that init missing two required positional argument, that is bname and branch. Very, very clear error by which we can easily understand what is a expectation in the code itself. So we should definitely check the errors, see like how interpreter responds when we are doing certain error now. Now in this case, we need to pass the parameter to the class, but again observe that it is asking for two parameters, not more than two parameters, asking for not the self now, not the third parameter now. So how it is working now? See, let me tell you, self is like already passed, it's like a class reference. So class is passing that to first argument. You do not require to pass it, but it is mandatory. One of the first argument is a mandatory argument now. Whereas the other argument, what you see, bname and branch, these argument we have passed it now. These are like we are passing it now. So it is required, we require to pass it now. So here we are going to say bank name, say HDFC Bank, and next say it is a branch. Maybe you can say here it is a Kothur branch. I did not wrote city here. I could have added that parameter, so I can add city now, so that I can pass the city also. Say Pune. Whatever data you want to pass it, you simply pass it. And again, here also I will require to write one more statement now. Either I can write it here or I can write it here also. So I will show one more print statement in a different way. I can add city, state, whatever. So here I will not use a percentage. I will try something else so that you know both the print statement now. So I'll just comma and the city name is just city. So when you are not using the percentage, you simply need to write a comma. But when you are using percentage, don't use a comma. Now here you are going to pass one more parameter. Already pass it now, Pune, and see how does it work now. Test it. Yes, working perfectly now, no error. It means the code which we are written right now is working perfectly. So we just wrote a very, very simple code. We passed the local variable, that is bname, branch and city. Let us go deep into it. It is just the beginning now. It is not the end of this particular object-oriented programming or the Python. Here we are going to test how local variable works, how object variable work, why we require to use object variable, why we require to use class variable. Practically we are going to see it now. First we will test the scope of the local variable. Now when you say local variable like bname, branch and city, how is the scope? The scope is local. How do you know that? Can I print this bname outside the class? If yes, then it is global. But if I'm not, it means it is a local then. You say that bname is not defined. What does it mean here that bname is a local variable? And this is known to us in all the language also. Now can I make it global? Yes, you can make it global also, but then that bname will be available to everyone. So what is the solution then for that? Let us add some scope for the object now. And that scope can be added by defining object variable. So here I'm going to use a self dot bname, or I can write any name here. I'll just say bname just for understanding. It's a bank name, and now I'm just saying okay, so I will say here bname as I'm just passing it now. Similarly, I will define other variable. So this variable we call instance variable or object variable. So the name is same, like either you say object variable or instance variable. So here I'll say this is a instance variable, or fine, that's fine. Variable, attribute, various names are there. Object variable. So again, like I have to define some let me show that the testing part now. Now can I print this bname now, and how I can print it? I just define it, but let me tell you now, you can print it by using the object, because the scope is for object now. It is not a global variable, it is object variable. As a result, I can print using the object now. So right now we just created object, that is SDFC. So let us print this object variable. So can you see now it is printed, the scope is there. So this is what we say the scope. The scope is now, like by using the object you can call it. I hope you are clear now. If it is local variable, it is not available for outside the class, not available to the object also. But when you define using the object, like using the self here, it is available. We'll be understanding other type of variable also, like class variable, global variable, but let us understand first object variable before we go for the class variable. Now here, let us define all these variable as a object variable. One more is there. So first one is bname, then branch. You have to write value as a branch here. Third one is city. And let us see how does it work now. And why I wrote it was because, see, right now it's okay. I'm just writing in the one method. But if I'm writing other methods, I want to share those variable inside the class to other method. I can share only object variable, not the local variable. That also we are going to test it now. So here, let us test it. How does it work? So we did not call it also. So like you can test out like sdfc.bname, sdfc.branch. Sorry, there is a spelling mistake here. Branch is just like whatever I'm writing it. I have to be very careful in type. There should not be any typo error here. So what I'm writing is, let's say I'm writing branch, I should print branch then. Okay, so now as a local variable, there's no problem. But if I'm writing one more method now, so let me write one more method here to understand the scope. So here I'm writing the bank information. So let us say information as a method, or you can say whatever, like display info. Okay, let us be info method. And then having the first parameter as a self only. This is like another like bank information method, you can say. Here you can get the information about related to bank. And now try to print this. Try to print this inside this info method. I'm just just taking out all this portion now. See what happened. I can see someone is having some question here. Okay, someone is saying like sdfc.bname can be changed after initialization. If yes, it will affect bname in the object. sdfc.bname can be changed. You can modify by object, but then that will not change to entire class. That won't change to the entire, it is only for that object. So it is just like overriding, but you are not modifying for all the classes. It's not for the entire class. So anyhow, we are going to discuss this, like the scope also. The scope is like for that object only. I have just answered to the one of the query, and you will be seeing like how does it work in detail. So let us see it actually, how does it work, because you are going to observe it now. What happened here in this case, obviously this is only for like get method. I just like, get attribute. I just did it right now. Here I don't require to define get attribute and set attribute. By default, it is there. Get attributes and set attributes are by default. These attributes are already available. In case you are writing, like we have a built-in attributes available, it is like overriding them. So let us see how does it work now. So here, if I try to print bname and the branch, what happened? And that too I'm printing now in the info method. Obviously, to print that, I will require to call this method by object, that is info. And let us see what happened now. It says that bname is not defined. Why bname is not defined? Because info doesn't know what the bname is. Bname is a local variable. And I'm calling bname here. I'm not calling self.bname. I'm calling bname. So how to call? So if I want to share, obviously I need to print now self.bname, self.branch. So that way I will able to. I can just put it down here for the just like a continuation of the same line so that it is visible to everyone. So here, what I'm doing, self.bname and self.branch. See what happened. Let us test it. Oh, working perfectly. It is saying that bank city is Pune because it is already defined in the case of constructor method only. Whereas bname and the branch I have defined in the info. So bank name and the branch has come from. So this way, if I want to share some variable, some data, I want to share then, and that too inside the class, Python allows you to do that using object variable. Just define the object variable and you can share to other method also. I hope you understood the basic here, that how object-oriented programming basic, what all thing. Let me actually recap here. Let me just give the idea of what all thing we are done right now. We just wrote a very simple thing, that is class name. Here I'm using the class name as a camel casing. I recommend to use the best practices of the Python, which are defined in the PEP8 standard. So PEP8 standard, which we need to follow in the Python case while running the code. So that way you will have a better code readability, and that's one of the you can say the best practices also. You can just say import this, you'll come to know import this, which are the best practices and which are the principle of the Python, and we just need to follow it. Even the code what you write, you need to check like whether it is written correctly or not, whether you are given the proper space or not. That also we need to check it here. So here we wrote a class name, then constructor method. Be careful while typing the constructor method. You have to write double underscore in the beginning and double underscore at the end. So these are the built-in method. We need to write those method name as it is. That way we are overriding it. Whereas the info method, which we are defined right now, is a user-defined method. You can write whatever the name you want, write it here. And here we are initializing the class itself. I can remove this part also now. This is not required. Now, can I save this program using this Anaconda? Yes, you can. By simply writing the Anaconda command, that is $% write file. You can use a tab whenever you want to complete the command. And then what is the, let's say bank app1.pl, because I have written so many applications using the bank itself. So even I guess like bank app will be there. Let us override it. That is, no, it's not there. That's good. So bank app.1. So this is a file I can run from anywhere now. So notebook, Jupyter notebook gives you freedom. Again, why I'm using the Jupyter notebook, it gives you freedom to write the code entire in the notebook, as well as you want to save as a file. Yes, you can do that, and you can execute wherever you want. You want to execute in the notebook itself? Yes, you can. And also there is an auto recording feature also available. So this notebook is getting saved automatically. I don't require to open and close like in the case of PyCharm. I have to open the program and again execute it for every program. So this is not required in the notebook. You can have hundreds of programs in the same notebook and on different cell. That's your choice now. So for learning purpose, I will recommend to go for notebook itself, Jupyter Notebook. One more thing, like in case you want the data science library, machine learning library, web scraping library, all these libraries are already there along with the Anaconda distribution. So you do not require to then install NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, sklearn, and beautiful SOAP library, like many more, unit testing, many more library. Selenium is you have to install it, but then the many library which are already available now. So you do not require to install it manually. Almost like many means I can tell like 850, that many packages are loaded along with the Python when you are installing Anaconda. But when you're installing simply Python, obviously you have to install other library manually by using obviously there are commands available like pip install or easy underscore install. By this command also you can install it. Yeah, there are various ways to install other packages.
So one question.
Right? Yeah, you can write the question.
Okay.
Is this audible to everyone? Like everyone is getting like, okay, I can just.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
there's a question. I just want to check because everyone can write the question and I'll try to answer it here now. The question is, why did we get bank city name if only info method was called? Very good. Let me tell you, init method is getting called automatically. So we have already tested the constructor method init, and you don't require to call that constructor method manually. As a result, the city which is printed in the init method got called automatically. I hope Anshul, you got the answer now. Okay,
Yes,
fine.
sir.
So now let us, I hope like this code, because now I'll be going to the next level of this code now. Okay, there's one more question. I install Python and then Anaconda, is that fine? Okay, let me tell you here, there's no problem to have the Python installation and after that Anaconda, but let me tell you it is not required. If you have a Anaconda, yes, it includes the Python also. So, but having both, no problem. I am having both. I'm having the Python also. I'm having the Anaconda. Anaconda is creating the virtual environment for you. So you don't require to worry like overriding the existing Python environment also. So you don't require to worry for that also. Okay. I hope like Balaji, you got answer now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now let me go ahead with the next part. That is inheritance part now. How does the inheritance work in the Python? So here I have saved this file and now I'll be inheriting this file now. First I will import this file. It is not necessary. See, if I'm writing in the notebook, I do not require to even call from the file. But to understand, in case you have one file, having one class, and you want to write another file now, where you want to inherit the properties from that class, how to do that? For that, we need to understand model topic. So here, model topic is something here I'm writing here now, class. Okay, so I need to import. So how to import? There's a from statement. I have one of the ways to like import is a from statement now. Yes, there are 4 ways to import. One is by simply import and the file name. Another is by using the from statement. Now I want to import a specific class. I'll just say from bank. Okay, before that, I would like to tell you like, I would like to show like how does it, I just want to test it. So let me show like this bank app1.py file. I have saved it in the notebook. I would like to show like how does it work. So I'll just say import bank app just to tell you like it is working. So you can see it is saying that import bank app1. It has also executed because we did not write any condition for execution here. We simply wrote the, we just simply called the object, and as a result, in the import statement also, it got executed. Yes, there's a solution for that also. So now this bank app1, if I check it, there are certain attributes. Now this is our own class. And this is see, everything in the Python is object, even the bank app1, what you see as a, just now the file, that's a model, is also object. Now what the dir is doing, dir is showing the list of attributes which belong to the bank app1 now. So it includes the bank class, it also includes the SDFC as a one of the objects, so it is showing everything whatever is there in the model now. So if you want to check the help of your own models which we just now created, you can use a help function and say bank app1 and see how does it work. This is all created automatically. See the structure, everything created automatically. It is showing you like help on model bank app1. So this program has become model now automatically. So let me tell you, in the Python case, whatever the code you're writing, by default it is a model. So if you save as a file, it is a model only. And as soon as you say import, it creates one more file called pyc file, that is a byte compile file. So it is a one time, and after that whenever you import, it is referring to that pyc file only, that is a byte compile file. Because why I say byte compile file here? Python is written in C language, so internally it is compiling. We are not able to see that part. It's a binary file. In case you want to see it, you can go for the path which is this is a double underscore pycache part, and there you can see all those .c. Maybe I will show it later, but then yes, it is created. There is a .pyc file. Okay, if you want to show me, then I have to go to that path and I can show it then. Here I have to show means there will be a, let me tell you the name of the folder. It is the cd double, I'm just cd is for the, just changing the directory from the notebook. I can change it. I can show this file also, which particular path this particular pyc file is created. So let me show that. So this here I'm now into the another directory, and I can show the file just like, because I have several files. As this is a Unix based machine, so I can type Unix based command on the notebook also. That's another beauty of the notebook now. I have, what is the name of the application which I given here? Bank 1, right? Bank app1. So I should check bank app star. Yes, I told like there are many more applications which I wrote it. So this is the one which I wanted to show, that is created automatically, and it is showing the version also. That 37 is like I'm using the 3.7 version of Python right now. Although 3.8 version has come, but obviously like it has come recently, so I did not update my Anaconda as of now. But yes, you have similarity now. So this is a pyc file, which is a byte compile file in the Python. So from here only I'm extracting the data now. Again, I'll go back to my original directory by cd, and I'm now into my original, that is because my files are stored in that particular path. I don't want to save my notebook in the private directory, that is double underscore pycache. Is for only pyc file. It's created automatically in the Python. So now I'll be calling to what I'll be doing now. I'll be calling this class from this app now. So from bank app1 import class, which is the class name now. Bank, I guess. Bank is a class name we wrote. You can check it by dir also. You can do the dir, and already shown here that is showing the bank is a class name. This is a class name. You can see the class name, how that it is defined here in the help document, and the method also you can see, right? So here I'm just doing that. Now I can see what is there in the bank. What all things are there. I have some built-in attribute which I did not define, but Python, as I say, everything is object. As a result, we are inheriting some properties from the object class, which is a super class for all the classes now. So here there is one method which is this is our method, whereas whatever other thing you are seeing right now, that is double underscore, they all are built-in attributes. Some cases we are using, some cases I'm like we can override. Whenever you're using this, it is overriding again. we'll understand what is overriding in the Python, because our topic is object-oriented programming. So overriding, polymorphism, overloading, whether it is there or not, everything we are going to see practically now. So here I'm going to do what, this is something I want to test it, and let me now write the class here, and just write my another class. Now let us, like in the, when you say bank application, you can have what? Employee class, you can have a customer class, and then you must be inheriting some properties from the super class, that is a bank class. So which one you want me to write? Okay, I'll write for customer first, and maybe later on you can try as an example as an employee class then. So customer class, and here if I want to inherit, it's a single inheritance. If I'm doing right now, I have a base class as a bank which I have inherited, which actually I have added in this particular notebook now. As a result, I can use this now, bank. So very simple in this case, class customer, and in the bracket I'm writing the base class, that is bank. Here I will just simply say colon, and you can say whatever, I'm like customer, bank customer class. Okay, bank customer class. Bank customer class. And before we write any other method, let us test, because Python allows you to test your code after every line. And that's the beauty of Python. Again, you do not require to write complete program, compile and execute here. There's nothing like compile. You don't require to do that part. It is done everything internally. What you do is just write it, test it, write it, test it. And that way, you don't require to worry about the debugging part much here. Debugging is also taken care if you write it code and test it by notebook here. I would like to see one more question here because someone has raised the question. Okay, so one more question has come. It's good, like you are asking the question, so that way even this question may be for other also. So I'm trying to answer everyone's question here now. Is that the customer class returned within the bank class? Let me tell you, I have not returned this customer class inside the bank. I did not write it. Bank class is my separate class. I have saved that in the file bank app1. This is my separate notebook now. You can, this is my separate cell, you can say. And here what I'm doing is I have created bank app1 as one module itself. And from that module, I'm importing the bank class now. And I can have n number of classes in the app, that is a bank app1. And from there I can inherit now. So here I'm doing inheritance. The next question is a Python a case sensitive language? Yes, 100% case sensitive language. Okay, so I'm like, you have to be very careful, right? When you're typing, like you write customer, I wrote as a capital letter, is and using the camel case, and you wrote it next time lowercase, uppercase. Don't do that. Even variable, case sensitive. So be careful. So it's a case sensitive language. Yeah, you can write the question. So in between, I'll be answering the question also. Okay, so now again, next to the, like what I'm doing here is the inheritance. So let me write here what I'm doing. So, and I'll be explaining the concept once again, but after this hands-on, I'll come back to the concept part also, those who are specifically new to the object-oriented programming concept here. So here I'm doing inheritance. Inheritance. What is inheritance? Acquiring certain properties, right? You have a parent properties and you are acquiring from the parent. So here the parent is, who is the parent here? Bank is a parent here. And who is the customer? Child of the bank, right? Your several name. Bank is a superclass, customer is your subclass. In other languages, those who are already know like object programming, they know like what I'm trying to say. There's a superclass, subclass. What is base class, derived class? All the other terminology for saying the inheritance part. So yes, there are multiple types of inheritance in the Python. So here I'm starting with a very simple inheritance called a single inheritance right now. Now, before we proceed ahead, let us create the object of this particular customer class and test it whether I'm really able to acquire the properties of the bank. Because I said, you simply say in the bracket bank, and you are eligible to acquire the properties of the bank now. You just did what? Inherited the bank. Let us test it now. How to do that? Let's say customer is Surendra here. It's just object name, and you are just getting the object of this customer. Okay, so let's see the Surendra is getting what? Anything Surendra is getting now? Oh, very good. It is saying that init missing 3 required positional argument, bname, branch, and city. You'll be wondering where are these? So it has all come from the bank now. That's why it's saying that pass this 3 argument now. You cannot simply write Surendra equal to customer in this case, because we have already written constructor method in the bank class and it is getting called automatically. So as a result, I need to pass this all details whichever I had defined. In this case, let me show what I pass it, that is the bank name and all these things, whatever I pass it, I am just passing it now to customer and see how does it work. And see now how the Surendra works. Good. So it's saying bank, city, Pune. That's output. Because we did not call any method now. So this is just the default thing which is there. We have already commented the next part, deleted the next part. So what about the methods? So let us call this Surendra dot, what is the method name? Info. Yes. We have bank name, HDFC, and branch, go through. So what you can see here, that how this particular class is working. Now there's one more question. Does this process count as a nested classes? Having class customer under class bank. As of now, I have not taken nested classes, but we can have nested classes. I'll be discussing about varieties of the classes also. Varieties of the inheritance. We have just done right now a single inheritance right now. So, but right now also, let me tell you what's happening. When you are inheriting the bank is also inheriting a super class, that is an object. Okay, I hope yeah, and I'll be discussing now. Each and every part I'll be discussing here. So you can see a simplified code. Now, I did not write bank class, but I'm able to acquire the properties of bank class. But other than that also, I can add some more thing in the customer. What is that? I will say another method, that is a def cinfo, and having the first parameter self, I can say cname and just adding the customer info. This time I did not write constructor method. Let me tell you, constructor method is not mandatory. By default, class is having constructor method. You do not require that init method is already there. Right now, we are already inheriting the constructor method which is defined in the bank class. So that's why I say it is not mandatory. So here customer information, fine, and let us define the customer now. Here self dot cname equal to cname is again object variable. And here I'm just printing the customer name. %s for the string, percentage. Again, it is not, now I can write a CNAME also, that's fine, because if I had to I have to just print it here, it's fine. If I have to print somewhere else, if I want to share, then I have to write a self.cname. So it is not mandatory. When you do not want to share, just define the variable as a local variable. If you want to share, define as a object variable or class variable based on the requirement. We have not discussed till now about class variable. So I hope, let us test this now. So can I call this surendra.cinfo, and yeah, I need to pass now because I have a one parameter cname. So okay, so I'll write complete name now. This time, let's see how does it work. Okay, I have to complete the code also. Yes, customer name is Surendra Panpalia. So I now become a customer of HDFC Bank, having the branch in Kothur. City, Pune, yes. So this is the way you can inherit the superclass, or you can say parent class, or you can say base class. So what the customer is right now derived class, child class, various name, you can say subclass of the superclass, that is a bank now. So I hope it is clear to you like what we have taken right now. Let me repeat this so that you understand each and every step once again. First step is to define your class. That is class, bank name. What is the class name is there? So I just wrote here bank here. Then second step, what I did, I wrote certain documentation. In case I want to write about the class name, I can write in the triple quoting. That is again not mandatory, but then recommended. Why? Because you should know what class you're writing, what is the purpose of the class. So everything you should write in the form of document. And you can see the documentation also. Let me tell you, like the documentation I already showed, like if you see the help of your class, you will be able to know what all things are there. What is the purpose of this? So purpose should be written for every class. Even you can write for every method, for every function, you can write a triple quote string, which is a triple quote string is for the multiple line string now. And as it creates a document automatically. We are defined here in the bank class the object variable right now. We are not reached to the till now the class variable. We have just done we have just seen the difference between the you can say the local variable and object variable as of now. So still we need to discuss something about the class variable and also the global variable so that you understand the scope of the variable also. Okay, here I'll pause for a 2 minute only to know your questions. If you have any question as of now, I can answer it, and this pause is only for us for your questions only. Okay, saying that you have used single quote here in the cinfo method. Can we also use a double quote? Very good question, and I think this question helped me to answer. So let me tell you again, in the Python case, we have a 3-way of writing the code: single quote, double quote, and triple quote. Python gives you the freedom to select the type of quote you want to use it. So it is not a syntactically any error for using single quote or double quote. There's no error for it. Yes, you can use it double quote also, you can use a single quote also. So there's nothing, it's not a mandatory thing. See, when to use a double quote and when to use a single quote is only like, let's say you're using the combination now. For example, I'm using doesn't where there's a single quote already, like you can say involved. So in that case, I won't recommend to use a single quote. In that case, you should use a double quote, and under double quote, you should use a single quote. So that's a choice, but it's your choice. How do you want to write it? Nothing mandatory here. I hope Balaji, you got the answer.
Yes.
So any other things you have any questions? So I will try to answer it.
So
you can write all the questions here, and I will try to answer it. I'll just take the pause of 1 minute here. Okay, so I could not see any question now, so we can continue. Let me share some more thing, like some theory part also in between. Some important part only. I will not discuss the thing which you already know. So I discuss about the instance variable here. What the instance variable means like the object variable, we can say instance variable, object variable. Specifically, those who are not aware about it, what instance variable is. So it is a variable owned by the instance of a class, like we say the object variable, right? So it is like available to the object now. Those variables belong to the object now. And the value of each instance variable can be different now. It is not like same. So they are tied to the particular object of the instance of the class. And the content of instance variable are completely independent from one object to the other. Then, yeah, so this is quickly about instance variable. I told you now. What about class variable? Class variable, which we'll be discussing right now and doing practically, that is declare inside the class definition. And this is the variable which is available to everyone now. We'll be using this now, and it is not tied with a specific object of the class. You can share to everyone, all the object now. And also the modification modification can be done by class also. So let me do object variable when you are defining. That is available only to the object. But when you talk about the class variable is available to class as well. So it is available to object as well as to the class. So the scope is now wide in the case of class variable. So inheritance case I already told, like that's a very basic and very much easy to understand about the inheritance. We have seen it practically what the inheritance is, but we'll be going a little bit deep of the inheritance here. We have several examples, like writing the like class. Here we wrote a bank here, class bank, and then you may write a subclasses. And this is the way, like you can have the like customer, then you can have employee, you can have something else. In the case of a saving account or something else you want to write it. But then what are the types of inheritance are available? I have gone to the various documentation and I found some cases it is shown 4 types of inheritance, some cases it is shown the 5 types. So let me show you like all the 5 types of the inheritance because I will not able to cover all the types of inheritance practically. But then yes, some of the things I'll be showing you. But then you know quickly the differences between the types of inheritance in the Python. Firstly, the single inheritance. As the name, we already started actually with a single inheritance only. It's very simple, straightforward. You are inheriting the class. You have one class bank now. You inherited it as a customer. So that's a single inheritance. We'll see the multi-level inheritance. What exactly the multi-level inheritance means. So I think single inheritance, I don't require to tell you more because it's very, very straightforward. Allows you to derive the class and it's just having the single parent. But when you say multi-level inheritance, what exactly happened in that case? You have a class 1, you have a class 2, you have multi-level classes now. You have like one. So I'll be showing you with example how multi-level inheritance works here. So let me show that. Again, I'll be just showing the example so that you know like multi-level inheritance now. Just to tell you, like this is a class A and there's a class B now and this class C. We'll be doing that actually. We can also like we are done for the now for you can say customer we are done now. We can go for employee. Let's say you are inheriting the customer class, or maybe I would say saving account in this case, because in the bank case I had to go for saving account. Let's say saving account class now. There's a class C is a saving account class, and that saving account class is inheriting the customer class itself. So in that case, it becomes multi-level inheritance, and that we can do it. We can also do it like just to like you can have multiple levels. It's not like now let's say you have a class D. Class D can inherit to the class C then. So like that, you can acquire the properties of each and every class now. So now if you do this, what happens? You have all the properties, like C is having the properties of class method, the method A, method B, method C, all the three are available to the C now. So what happened in this case? Mostly like we go for the multi-level inheritance. So let's say you have a class C or maybe a class D, something, whichever the class is there. You can simply acquire your parent is acquiring the grandparent. This is the way, and you may have another so that hierarchical structures. There are a number of levels available in the multiple level inheritance, and this is the way a very basic example will tell you like how does the multi-level. Even we can write the example like saving account class, which is inheriting the customer class, and customer is inheriting the bank by default. So this is the way you can have multi-level inheritance. Then multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance means you have a multiple base classes now, and from there you are trying to inherit the properties. So I have one base class, let's say customer. I have another base class, let's say one is customer, one other is employee. Now I have a saving account. Saving account is inheriting the properties of customer as well as inheriting the properties of let's say to the employee also. Yes, that way. Or you have one bank class, another bank class. So multiple bank classes are there. And then from multiple bank classes, you are inheriting the properties to the customer. So I am a customer of ICICI Bank. So I have one bank class from the ICICI. I have one SDFC. Third one maybe Citibank. So I can have the 3 bank classes as a base classes, and I'm trying to access the properties of Citibank, or you can say this the second one could be SDFC Bank or ICICI Bank. So this way I'm a customer and having so that is what multiple inheritance. Very simple. Third one is, so next one is a hierarchical inheritance now. What happened in the case of hierarchical inheritance? So let us see with an example how hierarchical inheritance work. So this was multi-level, then multiple inheritance already shown, like ABC got acquired in the class D. Very simple and straightforward. But what about hierarchical inheritance? Very similar to the there's only small difference in this case. Hierarchical inheritance like is a class is inheriting by more than one class now. Now what happened? You have a class A which is defined. Now in this case, let's say bank class is there, and in the bank class, what I'm doing, I have a customer class and I have employee class. Now customer is also accessing the class A, means here bank, and bank is also, and the employee is also accessing the same class, that is a base class now. So that is what hierarchical, and mostly I like now we can also write, let's say I wrote one more class called employee class now. The employee class I will able to access the bank now, similarly like the way I wrote for the customer. So both is getting the access to the superclass. So that is what the hierarchical inheritance means. So here a class is inherited by more than one class, and the last one is a hybrid inheritance. As the name indicates, it is a combination of different types of inheritance. So hybrid is, as the name indicates, you have a combination here. Somewhere you have a single inheritance, somewhere you have you can say multi-level inheritance. So you have a combination here. So this is the way you may have designed as per your choice. It's all customized choice. Now in this case example, you have class A and class B. Class B is accessing the class A, class C is accessing the class A. So it goes like hierarchical. This one we did it as a hierarchical inheritance now. After that, what we did, class D is acquiring the B and C now. Like for example, in this case, I have a customer account, I have an employee account, and I have a saving account now. Saving account is acquiring the information of customer as well as employee. That's what I have a mix here. So this is what we can say hybrid inheritance in the Python. I hope you are clear with the example that the types of inheritance, and with this example you can see how does the inheritance work now. So we'll be doing it with a more practical now to understand because we'll be using the bank application only. I don't want you to show this example because these are all basic example to work out. Yeah, I can see some question here. Yeah, so I will request everyone to share the feedback. I hope all of you are getting the concept part. Now let me go to so this is all the types of inheritance. We have to see the practically now some more thing about the bank application now. Now we are going for what is the concept we just now understand, that is about class variable. Now we'll see the class variable. So this example, what I will do in this example, I will declare, I can just copy paste this in case you want to understand it. I will just copy paste in one cell only so that you can see the complete code. Now to explain the class variable, what I will do here I will write a class variable. Now in the case of bank, you can have a unique code. What bank you can have a unique code? It could be IFSC code, which is unique. So let me write it, IFSC. IFSC equal to, let's say I'm starting with a 100. Okay, you can write 0 also. That's not necessary. You should be writing, it is just like initial value. Okay, I'm writing 0 so that it's not specific. Okay, so this is class variable. Class variable is written below the class name. How is the scope? Let us see it now, one by one. So here I can access this class variable by using the class name inside the method, as well as I can access by the object. But if I want to modify this class variable, I should modify by bank dot, what is it, name, IFSC plus equal to 0, sorry 1, not 0. I want to modify it, I want to increment it. So every bank should have unique IFSC code. Obviously it should have, then only it is a or even the branch also, right? Some cases we say, okay, this is a branch and it has a unique IFSC code. Now I would like to print this, and I will print it like IFSC code for the bank IFSC code, you can say bank IFSC code. And here what should I do? Here simply writing the maybe I can write by using the comma and what is the name, bank dot IFSC. If I want to print it a more specifically, like proper way, like I can do percentage here and write percentage D for decimal. And in case I want to say is for the which bank, HDFC, so I can say HDFC. This is just like say this is 00 like that. So let us see how does it work now. So I had to I just wrote out this class variable. I'm just printing here bank.ifsc. Because this is a class variable, I should write a class name here, and let us create a multiple object of this. So HDFC 1. Let us see how does it work. Great. So you can see there is a bank IFSC code which is HDFC 001, HDFC002. So we have a now unique code for that. It is also like a static variable. In Java or C, we say it is a static variable. But here we call class variable. So who can access this IFSC variable? Who can access it? Even object can access it. Object can also access it, and anyone inside the class can access it. What about modification? See, if the bank is modifying, it is going to reflect to the entire class. But if object is modifying, no, it won't be reflected to entire class then. Okay, so it all depends on who is modifying it. Yes, you can modify the object, but it will be only for that object, not for the entire class then, not for other classes also. So this is the way the scope of the class variable is there. Now you can print, in case you want to print it, HDFC, you'll get the just print HDFC 1. Let's print this. See how does it work. So you say that, oh, I had to print the IFSC, not the HDFC. So dot IFSC. So I'm getting that. So accessible to the object. HDFC is what? 1 or it. So you can see from this example that class variable, I don't define any self here, nothing, is defined below the class name, and it is available. The scope is there, available to object directly. See, if I could have done IFSC inside the method, it could have been just a local variable. But as I wrote below the class name, it is a class variable. Now, one more variable I would like to declare here, that is a global variable. Global variable, that is just, it is not required, but then just to tell you, like, you know, how to declare it. It's just a global keyword, and you can write a variable name here. Maybe the variable name is something like, you can take it, okay, so like country, just any variable, okay. And now you can say what the country is, India, and see printing it now. Print. Now you do not require to, see I wrote global here. Now I do not require a self here, and see how does it work. Oh, India is not defined. Very good. It has to be string. We don't know what exactly it is, so it has to be string, right? It's not a variable, so we have to define it. It's very important. Oh, country is not defined. Good. So lowercase, uppercase, what is that? Spelling mistake. See, understand, like obviously we have to be very, very careful. Here I trust COUNTY, that's the spelling mistake. TRY should be there. Yeah, so this way, yeah, we have to be very careful in typo here and get the result now. So now you can see the variable country, which you just now declare, is a global variable. I hope you are clear with the concept of object variable, class variable, local variable, and global variable. Global variable is not recommended in programming because this is the variable which is available to everyone. Available to everyone. Anybody can, it is like to even the class which your other classes also, this variable is available, not recommended. But what you can use is a class variable, object variable, and local variable as per the requirement. So I hope you are clear with the class variable also now. Now about the inheritance part, we have overriding also. So we did inheritance, but then we need to understand the concept called polymorphism. So we are going to understand now polymorphism. Polymorphism, as the name indicate, we have many forms. So you have method, one method, you have many forms. In other languages like Java, C++, what you see, there are two things. One is overriding and other is overloading. In Python case, what works is a overriding and not overloading. See it with example. So here what I will do, there is a info method now which is written in the case of bank class. I will write what? I will write this class now customer. Okay, so let me write this customer class. Okay, so this is I can write it because not necessary I should have a separate file. We have options available, so I'm just showing like various way of writing the code. So here there's a bank customer class now, and in this case now I don't require to have a object of this. I simply removing this now. Oh sorry, this was a separate example. I do not require to. This is a separate example. So here I just need a customer. So Surendra is a object of customer now. Now here I will just remove this part. Not needed to test it. Okay, so is it going to work? Let us test it before we proceed further. Yes, perfectly. So in this case, what I did, I have a bank class and also I have a customer class. Now I did a single enters right now. I did not write any other class right now. So let us test the method called info method. I am able to access the info method also. Right now I'm able to access the CInfo also. But question here is, what if I override it? We are going to understand that part now. So here I'll just remove the C and I'll just say use the info method now. And we're going to test how info method work in this case. So I'll remove here C. So let us test it. So firstly, type is saying that missing one require position argument. So because info required, so this won't work now. This particular method will not work. But second one is working perfectly. See, in this case, I will not able to access the info method of my superclass that is a bank. I can access the local method which is there inside the customer class. Why? Because now in this case I did what? Overriding of info method. The info method which is written already here now. You can see this is the info method and here I did overriding. Now you'll be wondering, I wrote here one more parameter that is CNAME, but still it is overridden. Let me tell you, in the Python case, you do not have a overloading feature available. You have only overriding. So here what's happening, the first info method got overridden by the customer info method. Okay, so now what we will do, we will test it like, can I access now, like this is a scenario, can I access a superclass info also after overriding? The answer is yes, you can. But how? Let me show with another example, which I'll just copy it here so that you have the this complete notebook available to see the difference now. So here I'll do what? I'll be here other things are like country and all this. Okay, that's additional thing. Here I'll be focusing only on info method. I would like to access the info method of my bank class. For that, one of the ways is like I'll write a method like, you know, bank dot info. Check it. How does it work? Can I do this? Let me take it. No, it requires self also. Minimum self is minimum one parameter, like it is a self is required. And I'm calling this info, and see now, one of the simplest way that I can access a superclass method by that class name itself. This is one of the way to access a superclass method info. So even after overriding, yes, I can do that. What is other way of doing it? There's other way also of doing it, that is by using the super keyword. I'm just commenting this and putting here super function method. This is a built-in method now. So I will just try this info method without, I'm just trying this super op info and see how does it work, and it is working perfectly. So super dot info method also allows me to access my superclass info method after overriding. So this is the way you can access superclass method using the two technique which I shown, one by the class name itself, the superclass name, second by method, that is super method. I hope you are clear how you can access. This is a little bit complicated in the Python, so we need to know like how to access it, and it is different than other languages. It's not the same like the other language, because other language we have a loading available, but in the Python case we have a overriding only. So it doesn't differentiate. So let me tell you, those who are not aware about overloading and overriding. Overloading means here in this case you can differentiate by parameter. Like in Java, C++, when you pass the different parameter, by that you can differentiate method. That this is the method which is belong to the let's say bank class, and this method belong to customer class, by changing the parameter. But in the Python case, we are only overriding. Java, yes, it is possible. So I hope you are clear with the Python way of writing the code now, and how you can write a small application using the bank. So we will be converting into the application also now. Gradually we will convert this into application. Great. So I can see the result is like object-oriented. Python is object-oriented scripting language. That's what the majority of people are saying, and you understood rightly. Yes, it is not just programming language. It is not just object-oriented programming. Although you have both language is having both the feature available. It is having all the feature. It is having the feature of scripting language, having the feature of programming language, having the feature of object-oriented programming also. And that's why, if I had to say what Python is, it is an object-oriented scripting language. Very, very high level language compared to the C++ and Java also. So here a lot of things are already defined. Why I'm saying very high level? Because here you're not writing the code for each and everything. You're writing the code when there's a need. A lot of things are already defined. And that's why I say like it is an object-oriented scripting language. Okay, so I'm ending the poll here, and result is like it is a Python is, if I had to say that Python is object-oriented scripting language, although it has a feature of programming, scripting, object programming, all features are already available. Now I have one question here coming like I received from the Anshul, that if the like we define like customer class, if you have another class having info method, then how you can access by ignoring the superclass info method and the customer class info method. Yes, we can have one more class, but then we are going to inherit the bank class only. The same we will be able to access here also. So let's say you have a instead of customer, let's say, okay, let's say I have a employee class then. So in that case, I can access it. There's no problem. I'm accessing the information of bank, right? So that's not a problem. That it will work in the same way. And whichever the class name you write, yeah, if you write a multi, like let's say bank, let's say one more, let's say class saving account, and in that I'm having the information of customer as well as information about let's say you can say employee, in that case we have to be very careful that how to access, because we have to think about overriding feature there. There we have to be very careful. Yeah, but there is a way, there's a technique in the Python for that also. Although I will not recommend to write accessing multiple base classes in the same, but then yes, there is a solution available in the Python. It's all about how do you write it. Maybe I will define some variable as a private variable, and that way it won't override also. I can stop overriding. I can stop overriding of attribute or method by declaring some variable as a private variable. So there's a design available in the Python for that. I just tried to answer partially whatever the question was, but yes, it is possible in the Python. You can do it. I generally do that in the application development. Okay, so here I think let's say you want to understand how do you develop the application. So you can write a complete menu for that. So I'm not going to write a complete code, but I'll show the demo for that. Okay, I have the code which are okay. Let me check it. Oh, that's written in the old. Sorry, I had to actually do the single quote. I did a see what you can do in this case. I'm just showing a demo here because I have a short of time here now. We have a few minutes left. So here I just want to show like how you can do as a complete application. There's a bank class because this is like continuation to the existing one only. So nothing much new here. You can see what you can understand now. I did all those things, whatever the questions you have, answers are there in this example also. So I have now this class bank, and there's a customer class now. Also, I have override the init method in this case. There's an info method available in this case, and this info method I have override now. You can see this now in this example. Then I have saving account class, and in the saving account, I am accessing the customer class now, which is inheriting the bank class, right? So this is the best design to follow, and hierarchical inheritance you can see in this case. And I'm writing only the method which are unique method in the case of saving account, which is a balance method, deposit method, withdraw method. And I wrote a condition here like if my balance is less than, if I'm trying to withdraw the amount which is less than the balance amount which I require, like let's say 1,000 is the minimum balance required, then it should print the message insufficient balance. So this kind of things I written in the logic now. And then I wrote one menu here that is welcome to HDFC Bank. Please select your option. In a triple quote string, I wrote as a information like bank information I want, customer information, check balance. You want to check the balance. You want to deposit the amount, withdraw the amount. So various options. Then I wrote one object I created, and this is like object created for the saving account where I need to pass all the parameters which were defined for the. This is like a saving account. It is inheriting from the customer. So customer, all the parameters like name, brand, city, CNAME, C location, everything I have to pass it. So these all parameter I have passed it, and then here I am doing what? Writing the menu program like a print menu, and while true, taking the option like enter your choice, and saying the option 1 like as per the menu, if you say 1, it is going to print the information 1, bank information. In case you select the choice 2, customer information. So based on this is like using the nested structure of if and elif, I'm able to write the complete menu program here. So this will allow to write the menu program also, and And now I can show like how does it work. You can run from anywhere once this wrote it using the object-oriented programming. Like I have a bank app.py. I can run it from here, or I can run it from outside also. And then this is going to like ask me like, welcome to HDFC Bank. Please select your option. You say bank information. Yes, you have the bank information. You select the other option, customer information. Done. You got a customer information now. Third, you want to check balance. Nothing is deposited. What you will get then? Let us see. Zero balance. Okay, obviously you have to deposit then. Deposit some amount then. Yes, I'm going to deposit. That is 4. How much? How much amount you are going to give it to me? I'll deposit that. Okay, so 40. Okay, 4 lakh. Okay, in 4 lakh amount. Then I want to withdraw also now. Okay, so let me withdraw something like maybe 3 lakh. I want to withdraw now. And see, no problem. So let's check the balance first before we check the balance. That is point number 3. And oh, nothing happened. Balance is what? Did I withdraw it or not? Oh, I deposited. What is the choice I did it? Let me check it. What is the choice? I did okay, withdraw amount is done, and then I want to check the okay, deposit amount, withdraw amount. Okay, let me check it. So let us try this. It's saying like when I'm trying more than that, it is saying insufficient balance. So that kind of this is the way you can write a program. And in case you are doing the wrong choice, let's say 8, say that select the option from 1 to 6, and then the exit. In case you are not interested, just go. Let's thank you for banking with us. So this is the way you can write your piece of code using the object-oriented programming of Python. So this is your own class, and these are like various way of writing. This is like one of the small application using object-oriented programming in the Python. I hope you understood like how you can practice. Obviously, you have to practice further and understand each and every part now. Now we have certain short of time, so I'll be quickly telling you something, some of the other concept of object programming here. That way you'll have a lot of things covered in this particular workshop itself. The topic is like, do we have a private, public, and protected in the Python? Answer is by default. See, we do not have what you can say the keywords like public, private, or protected, but there is a way of writing the code available in the Python case. So what is that? That you by default, when you do not write any underscore, in the beginning of any variable, those attributes are considered as a public attribute only, and mostly we use a public attribute only. Okay, so the next thing is like, do we are really protected? So let me actually in the Python, I don't see as a protected. Again, there's no keyword, but then there's other way of writing the code like single underscore in the beginning. So protected in this case is like single underscore in the beginning. We can define protected attribute here in the Python case. I'll tell you like how does the protected. So just write like for example, name is there. You say single underscore name, so that that particular variable is protected. So protected members can be accessed like a public member again from outside the class, but they are not meant to be so. In the case of Python, you don't see really a private, public, protected actually. Although we are just writing the code, but then real public, private, protected is like other language like Java, C++. You cannot compare here because you can still access here now. Third thing is private attribute. A private attribute again, like let me tell you again the other way of writing the code, like double underscore in the beginning. When you write double underscore in the beginning, those attributes become the private attribute here. So then what happened in this case, like when you say private attribute, whenever you declare attribute like a private, then you're not able to override it. I mean, like you can stop overriding. That's a benefit again, and not accessible easily. I'm like you can access it, but then there's no easy access to the private attribute now. Outside the class, you will not have easy access then. So this is what the difference between the public, private, and protected as per the theory, as well as practically I have done actually the like how you can also try using some attribute as a double underscore, you try using single underscore, and you will see the behavior of the class. But then let me tell you, the Python is not meant for creating the private or protected data. It is all having the way of accessing. You already saw it, you know, using mostly object variable, class variable, those kind of attributes are. So it is like, you will see like rarely use this kind of attribute here. In a very rare case, like why? Because in case some attribute you don't want to share at all, then only you go for the private attribute. But there's no keyword like a private in the case of Python. Some guys, those who are not aware about the terminology, like what is encapsulation? See, encapsulation, like what we say, class is encapsulating your data and method together, right? So encapsulation is a mechanism for restricting the access to some of the object component. Like for example, I don't want some attribute to be accessible to object, or I don't want to some other object. So I can restrict it, like the private, public, protected, or by like putting the double underscore in the beginning, or by you know, I don't want to like let's say local variable. Local variable is not accessible by default. You have to you know, outside the class it is not accessible, right? So there is a way of protecting your some members. So that is what encapsulation is all about. So there is one more, you know, terminology like abstraction is also like is a synonym in case like encapsulation is also called data hiding, and also there is one more terminology called abstraction is also there. So abstraction is achieved through the encapsulation in the case of Python. So it restricts the access to the methods variable. This is also called as a data hiding. So this is all about the quick. It is all about object-oriented programming in this workshop, and I want you to watch this particular video again and again to understand the object-oriented programming. Please you will enjoy and learn something Python. Now I will not be covering just Python, but also the data science, machine learning, web programming in my free workshop series itself. So this free workshop series will continue for the Python, because I am here to share my knowledge to each and everyone. And I will request all of you to share, you know, share to your friends also. Ask them also to subscribe or like our video. Thank you very much for attending this workshop.